So, Ms. Rojas, can you explain your background and work history before you became involved with OceanGate? Just kind of give us a little background on what you did.
You mean my business background?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a banker in New York City. I do sales and trading. Have an MBA from Columbia University in finance.
Okay. So with your background as being a banker, how did you become a mission specialist with OceanGate? Can you kind of give us the whole history and background on how you came to become involved with them?
I've been a scuba diver since I'm age 12. Pretty much the ocean is a place I feel very comfortable in. I've been pretty much obsessed with the Titanic since I'm age 11 or 12, before it was found. I actually wanted to find the wreck, but somebody beat me to it and told me that they were not going to go back. So I did banking instead of oceanography, and tried to find a way to go to Titanic once I find out that non-scientists could go. Signed up first with Deep Ocean Expeditions, which was at the time run by Rob McCollum. I was scheduled to go with them. The expeditions were postponed twice, then canceled. And through that connection with Rob McCollum, he actually is the one that mentioned that he knew somebody who had plans to go to Titanic. So that was the first time I heard about OceanGate. The second time I heard about OceanGate was through astronaut training. I actually thought, well, I can't go to Titanic, maybe I can go to space. And through astronaut training, I decided that with little money I had saved to go to Titanic, which I had been saving for a long time, was going to be to go to Titanic. And through Virgin Galactic, which was the ones doing the training, they told me, oh, we know somebody who has plans to build us up to go to Titanic. And so I mentioned these OceanGate expeditions. I said yes. And they were the ones who actually made the email connection. At this point, Stockton, who had heard my name twice, said, well, might as well meet Renata. He came to New York. I think I have in my notes, I think it was May 2015. We met for coffee. He told me a sub had not been made, that he had plans to make a sub to go to Titanic. It was going to take time. But he wanted me to go out on other expeditions and, kind of test the waters of how they did things. They were planning to go to the Andradoria, 2016. It's a shipwreck that I myself was already planning to dive, since I do have several technical dive certifications. The latest one is closed circuit rebreathers for Trimix at 100 meters. So, although it's a wreck that I could dive, I said, well, maybe in a sub I can see a lot more than diving. So I signed up for the expedition, and that's basically how the relationship started.
And did you have any experience with submersibles before OceanGate?
Not before OceanGate. I did have the opportunity to go down to the wreck of the Britannic in Greece with another operator in a Triton sub.
Thank you. How many dives, and you can estimate too, but how many dives have you conducted with OceanGate? Approximately.
Andradoria, Hudson Canyon, one in Seattle. We did a few test dives with Titan. I think it was 2 of them, and then my Titanic dive.
Can you explain to us, in your eyes, what a mission specialist is?
Yeah, mission specialist gets a little bit differentiated because he's somebody who gets involved in the operation. It's a volunteer basis position. It's a role that you take only if you feel comfortable with the role and you have a knowledge of what you're going to be doing. You're always supervised, always working with somebody who's giving you guidance. And it's really, it sounds very glamorous, but it's really just standing by to see if anybody needs a wrench.
To become a mission specialist with OceanGate, did you have to pay OceanGate any money?
Well, the payment was for the dive. You had the option once you showed up to the expedition if you wanted to participate or you wanted just to be an observer and passenger.
And I know you kind of mentioned this, you could do as much or as little as you wanted as a mission specialist. So would you consider yourself part of the crew? Specifically for you, did you, kind of work with the crew, or did you take more of the passenger? I'm just going to.
I was one of the few that really took on the role of a mission specialist. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I was learning a lot. I was working with amazing people. Some of those people are the very hardworking individuals that we're just trying to make dreams come true.
Did you ever receive any training from OceanGate? Can you kind of take us through that, the training you received to do those jobs that you just described?
Yeah, obviously for any position that you're going to be helping somebody out, you meet with that person, they go in detail with what they're going to be doing, what they're going to need from you. And as I said, some of that might be just, this is where the wrenches are. When I ask you for a wrench, this is where you come and grab a wrench. Sometimes it was just keeping the container clean. I joke around that I was a cleaning lady, but if you got familiar to where all the equipment was, when somebody asked for anything, a wrench, the drill, anything like that, you knew where it was, you could hand it over. And it was just to make their job a little bit easier.
Thank you.
So yes, you had a walkabout of what were you going to do, what were you going to be exposed to, are you comfortable doing this? Do you rather just stand around? Just get you familiar with the procedures.
And was that on every dive you kind of played that role?
Yeah.
I know you had mentioned about the medical and the physical, so we're going to kind of get into that a little bit. Lieutenant Steele, can you pull up Coast Guard Exhibit 009, which is what we have as mission specialist job description? Are you familiar with this document, or have you seen this document?
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but yes.
Okay.
Get my glasses.
Oh, yes, please.
You can see it in the binder.
Oh, good.
And we're going to kind of look on the first page there under physical
I've
duties.
seen this.
Okay. Was that used, was that given to you like when you first made your payment for your first dives? Or was this given
when you
to
get on
later?
the ship, they show you this, for you to understand if this is what you want to get involved in. You have to kind of pick a role. Do you want to work with the science team? Do you want to work with communications? Do you want to, work with the divers? Being a scuba diver and an extremely well-trained scuba diver, I was usually in the dinghy with the divers. It wasn't read every time. I mean, you read it once and you kind of know, yeah, I'm familiar with what I'm going to do.
Okay. I'm just going to turn your attention to paragraphs 2 and 3, where it talks about the physical duties, and I'm just going to read it for the record. It says, a mission specialist color vision must allow them to recognize color-coded objects such as electrical components, navigation lights, hazardous cargo placards, dock warning lights, pipes, and valves. Did you ever perform any duties related to working with electrical components?
No.
Okay. It also talks about the hearing in the next paragraph. It says a mission specialist hearing must be adequate for assuring his or her own personal safety while working in a machinery space which has high levels of background noise, for detecting changes in the operating sounds of machinery, and for hearing alarms, signals from the vessel, and signals from passing vessels. So as a mission specialist, did you ever work in machinery spaces?
No, but in order to get to the platform where the submersible was placed, you had to go through a section where there was a lot of machinery and there was a lot of noise.
On page 2, under the expedition duty specifically, it says under submersible operation support there, it states that duties may include scheduled vessel maintenance and electrical and compressed air charging systems. So as a mission specialist, did you ever conduct any vessel maintenance?
No.
Okay.
I observed it,
Okay.
but I was never responsible for.
Okay. Understood. Thank you. Were you ever, and I know you, again, you mentioned this, so we'll kind of go into the physical limitations for the overall health because of these requirements. They said they made you get a physical. Can you kind of go into the requirements for your physical abilities and what you had to do?
I still do my annual physical every year. I am, you do have to go through a hearing test, a visual test, to be certified that you're fit. Disclose any medical conditions, and then that's it. I think I'm so used to doing it every year that I still do it now. You have to do it for diving as well. Okay. Every time you take a technical certification course, you have to go through a physical as well.
Dive, but can you kind of just take us through a typical dive as a mission specialist from like the very start of your involvement to the finish? Like kind of what did that look like? Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Just like the planning meetings that were involved, the assigned task, how that worked, just kind of take us through a typical dive as a mission specialist.
That's a loaded question. Can we break it down?
Correct. Yes, we can.
Exactly what do you want to know?
Sure. So from the start, you show up, you're going to go take a dive. Like, is there any meetings at the pier, at the dock? Like, when you arrived?
I'm actually going to take it back. We would always get phone calls before we got on an expedition to update us on the vehicle, the vessel, how are we going to get there, what time we're going to get there, what has been done and not done to the submersible. They give you a full presentation of everything. I'm sure you have them. They give it to everybody. They usually held by Zoom, and anybody could come in. Once you made your plans to come in, you had to tell them, here's all my paperwork, including waiver. Everything had to be already read and signed. You could also go through it when you got on the ship, but you signed all of that. You gave them your estimated time of arrival. Somebody usually waited for you, either at the dock or even at the airport. Be driven to the vessel. You get in the vessel, you get introduced to the captain of the ship as well, who you are, what are you going to do. Have a sit down to go through the waiver again, and what you're going to do, what do you want to do, what was next. This is the events of the day. As I said, you're mostly just observing and watching. If you want to say, hey, can I help you with that? You need to say, yeah, come here, help. As I said, the helping is mostly watching what they're doing and them teaching you what they're doing. Then usually there was a briefing the night before any dives, and then the morning of the dives, where you actually went through a very detailed dive plan, hour by hour, time by time, roles. The night before, obviously, they asked you, what do you think, what do you feel comfortable doing, where you want to be? Sometimes you felt comfortable going in, sometimes you didn't. And then the operation starts. right? And they do make you aware that if you're going to get involved, you're gonna be there for 12 hours. A change of crew is a significant change in their dive plan, and they designate it as a strike. They had a 3-strike rule in the safety procedures with a certain number of anomalies was 1 strike. Anomalies could have been anything small from a rope being out of place, not having water in the sub, very simple stuff. Can't remember the number of anomalies, if it was 6 or 9, but a number of anomalies was a strike. And then strikes were things that were a little bit bigger, like sonar wasn't working. There was a change of crew. You were late in the dive plan. You took more than an hour was a strike. And if you got to a point where you got to a 3rd strike, the dive was called. No questions asked. It was like 3 strikes. We're going back to whatever point you were. You could have been in the water already diving, and if you have a 3rd strike, you just go back. Anyway, that's all that is explained to you. And so you need to understand that if you are going to volunteer to be on the dinghy boat with the divers, you're going to be there for a while. Take a risk index of how do you feel that day. You feel, from 0 to 7. How do you feel today? You feel tired? You need rest? Et cetera, and all of that before the dives.